What would have happened if the Roman Empire had never fallen? The Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, but what if it had somehow lasted? The Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire did last another 1,000 years. And during that time, they preserved and developed Roman law, Roman engineering, and Roman culture. But what if the Western half had also lasted? Well, first of all, the fall of Rome was caused by a lot of different factors: internal strife, economic issues, overexpansion. So there's no one factor that we can point to and say if this one thing had been different, Rome would have totally lasted longer. But one big contributing factor was the Germanic tribes who were pushing into Roman territory. And if Rome had still been around in the year 1476, well, the Germanic tribes would have eventually become a problem. They were a big problem even back in the 400s, so let us just assume that the Roman Empire in the West had somehow managed to hold off the Germanic tribes for another 1,000 years. Well, the Germanic tribes would have eventually become a bigger and bigger problem because they weren't going to just go away. And eventually their numbers would have overwhelmed Rome, or perhaps a more likely scenario is that the Germanic tribes would have eventually become Romanized and the whole idea of a Roman Empire that encompasses all of Europe kinda becomes a reality. Now obviously, this isn't what actually happened because the Germanic tribes did end up conquering a lot of the western half of the empire, and they did end up becoming Romanized to a certain extent. But now instead of having 1,000 years of medieval Europe with various Germanic kingdoms, you would have had 1,000 years of a much more widespread and a much more diverse Roman Empire. The Byzantine Romans would have probably kept trying to conquer the western half back from the Germanic tribes. But even if they hadn't, the western half would have still developed along its own path. It's very possible that the Renaissance would have happened earlier in the western half of the empire. After all, the Renaissance did start in Italy, which was part of the Byzantine Empire. And if the Renaissance had happened earlier in the West, maybe there wouldn't have been a Protestant Reformation. Maybe the Catholic Church wouldn't have felt the need to crack down on indulgences, and maybe the 30 Years' War would have never happened. Or perhaps the Renaissance would have eventually made its way to the East and would have helped preserve classical antiquity there. Maybe the Byzantine Empire would have been able to last another 1,000 years. But one thing's for certain: the world would have been a very different place. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to watch more videos like this, subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos.